Going live. And we're live.
Where's our damn music? Oh, here it is.
Two vets, two different worlds, one badass show. Center Mass with Rob and Silent J, blowing your mind away on the Vets Own Media Network.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Center Mass, Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I am Silent J.
And we actually have a trio of the third part of our fantastic threesome. That sounds a little gay. But he hasn't been here for a while, and he's back now. So maybe, I don't know if he'll be chiming in from time to time. I know he'll be sipping some whiskey and listening at least. But Brian Dolch, Iron Mike Magazine, and producer for the show, the guy that kind of helped us get this whole thing started, is here with us today. So, Brian, you want to say what's up to everybody?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be back. I've missed the party, so I'm ready to jump right back in.
Well, and as is par for the course with this show, we could never get all the technology right, so we can't figure out Brian's camera right now. So if you're hanging out with us live on Google Hangouts or watching on YouTube, you'll just see the Center Mass logo when Brian talks, because it just wouldn't be a Center Mass party if everything was working, would it? Speaking of which, I actually went. So Mike Dawson is a good friend of mine. If any of you listen to the Adam Carolla show, you know who Dawson is. I went to his house this week because I had some issues with my side, with my sound on my side. Just we try to record on both Joe's side and my side, so that we make sure we get a good recording, just in case. Who knows? There's so many things that can go wrong with technology. So I went to Dawson's house this week, and we spent a couple hours together, going through, because I was having some trouble with my audio, making sure it was right. Sure enough, everything worked at his house, and then as soon as I plug it in here tonight, it's screwed up again. So let's hope nothing happens on Joe's side, because my side's still all jacked up. So speaking of which, we were talking a little bit before the show. Joe, you're saying you had a pretty interesting week, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately. Had an interesting week. After work on Friday, I go to pick up my daughter to take her up to Buffalo to go see her mom, and I go downstairs in my basement, and I just took my boots and my socks off, and I walk downstairs, and I hit a puddle of freezing cold water, and I look around, and there's water all over my basement. I got a finished basement, so it's paneled walls and a finished floor, and there's just water everywhere. Well, we got so much rain that there's a spot in the wall where it's leaking, and there's really nowhere for it to go. So I grabbed every towel in the house. I'm trying to grab my electronics. Unfortunately, a lot of my electronics were sitting on the floor, so I got some stuff that blew out. I got a power strip that's dead, and then as I'm running, I trip over a cord, and one of my studio lights falls over, and I hear all the glass inside just smash. And
that's like a scene from a really bad movie. That makes me think of Home Alone or something like that, where you just like everything that can go bad goes bad.
Yeah, in a matter of 5 minutes, and now I'm like, okay, now I got to go get my daughter, and now that my time to pack clothes for the weekend, that's out the window now.
Right.
Get her, and she comes downstairs and she's like, I want to see. She's like, ooh, look at the water. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So she goes upstairs, and I'm doing stuff, and I'm like, now where the hell's my phone? She jacked my phone on me, and from the lines on the screen to unlock it, she's a little spy in the making. She unlocked my phone, and she was playing a game on it. And this was after we had an issue with her ordering stuff through her Kindle or iPad.
Yeah.
Which is linked up to her mom's account. And so her mom got 200 candles sent to her house.
200 candles? You think if that was a prank, you think she'd at least be a little bit more creative, right?
Well, it was for Mother's Day, so I couldn't yell at her like, "Why are you shopping?" And for one, it's her mom's money, so it's okay. But dude, it was like, okay, it was a gift for Mother's Day. She's 7 and she's got technology at the tip of her fingers, so
You know that? All right. So the first time, I think I had a Trio. And then a BlackBerry. A Trio is basically, so I had a BlackBerry, and then I got an iPhone. And it took me, I don't know, a couple months before I actually knew what was going on with either of those phones, because obviously I'm a technology moron. My kids, I got a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. Well, I can't even say 3.5. His birthday's next month, so almost 4-year-old and an 18-month-old. They both figured out our phones like quicker than I could ever imagine, faster than I did, and they taught me stuff on my phone. Like my son figured out how to take pictures without unlocking it and how to play music without unlocking it. I was like, dude, how did you do that? Like,
what kind of phone do you have?
iPhone.
Really? I don't know how to use. My daughter has an iPhone.
Yeah. Give it to your kid. Give it to your daughter for a couple hours, and she'll
That's
teach you all
thing.
kinds of new stuff.
Yeah, she's got the iPhone 5.
My wife got an iPad.
Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, my wife's a teacher, and they gave her an iPad, and she couldn't figure it out. She handed it over to my 3 boys, and they had it all worked out for her in about an hour.
There you go. I don't know what it's insane to figure out like what. I mean, the amount of technology our kids are growing up around, and that's that whole theory that technology grows exponentially. These breakthroughs start going at like an exponential speed. It's because all of a sudden, at the beginning, when it was just Edison, working on the longer-lasting light bulb and the telephone and all that, it was just him and nobody else really knew any of that stuff. Tesla, right? Didn't have a whole lot of people to confide in. Now, our kids grow up with technology their entire life. They have it their entire life, so this stuff is just like second nature to them. So when something new comes out, like you see this stuff, like you see these hacks that came out for the iPhone, like as soon as it was released, all these kids had hacks where they could do whatever they want. And it's crazy because the people that develop these things, they have entire teams at like Apple or whatever that are developing these things, and it just takes one really smart kid in Russia to just like, bam, there you go. It's insane. Yeah. What I need is one kid with a little bit of, I don't know, probably a little bit poor and a lot of smart and a little bit of not a whole lot else to do.
Yeah, my daughter.
There you go. I mean, it's insane. Like my kids, I don't know, who knows? Like they have their toys. Like I remember our toys were like, I had G.I. Joes and like board games. That was about it. These kids have you seen the Elite Pad? It's basically like a kid's version of an iPad. It's insane. It's just an unbreakable kid's version of an iPad. And that's why these kids are so smart, because they just know how to use all this stuff, right?
Yeah, and I had Battleship and Mousetrap that I would play by myself. Well, there's a reason why you only had sticks. That's all they invented at the time.
Yeah, I think in the 1800s they were too big on the kids' games. I think sticks and bourbon, right? That was your favorite childhood toy.
He still plays with bourbon and sticks.
Well, and you got to throw in the rocks too. I mean,
yeah, sticks and rocks.
I was trying to explain to somebody, I can't remember who it was. I live in California. I'm in LA, so we're kind of near Disney. And there's all kinds of, there's Disney, there's Knott's Berry Farm, there's Adventureland, there's a whole bunch of different like amusement parks here. And we were somewhere where we saw, those machines where you can take a penny and you put it in the machine and they grind it and it puts whatever, it makes it wider, it puts a logo into it. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, that's just like, because I hadn't seen one in a long time. I was trying to explain to my son, oh, it's just like, when we were kids, we used to put the penny on the train track and they would flatten it out. My son was like, why would you put a penny on a train track? And I was like, flatten it out. He was like, why? And I was at a total loss of words. I was like, I was bored. We didn't have Nintendo. It just...
It's the torture to the Jewish kid in the group. That's fine.
Well, where I grew up in, I grew up in the Wasp's Nest, like all white Anglo-Saxon Protestants where I lived wearing khakis and Dockers. So there were 2 Jewish families where I grew up, and that was about it. So yeah, not too big on us. Then I got to college. Then I went to, I moved up to Austin. It was like God's cruel joke to me because I moved into a dorm where I was the only non-Jewish person. So it was like, okay, yeah, I had no idea. Like, why? Yeah, I had pork chops. Anybody pork chops? No. I had a
cheeseburger, hamburger.
I had a what do you call it? Halal kosher. I had a roommate that was kosher, and I had no idea what the hell that meant. And he moved in, and I noticed he had a whole lot of junk food. All this kid ever ate was like Cheetos and drank Pepsi and like all this other crap. And I was like, aren't you going to eat some like salad or like something else? Can you just eat that all day? And he explained to me like all of that crap is all kosher.
Mm-hmm.
Like What kind of God would say you can't eat bacon, but you can eat Cheetos 3 times a day?
Yeah, as long as it has the K on it.
Yeah.
The new one is H for halal foods. So, no, you got the Jewish and Muslim approved snack food.
Yeah.
Find a K over an H on pork rinds, to tell you that much.
That's my favorite. Remember the thing that happened? What was it? India, McDonald's. Yeah, India. In India, it's cows, right? Cows are sacred in India, even though a lot of Indian people still eat beef.
Mm-hmm.
But they're sacred over there. So McDonald's, has their fries. They have McDonald's all over India. There were a lot of, is it Hindu or Hindi? Whoever it is that doesn't eat the cow. They would go to McDonald's just to get like chicken stuff, and they would get fries because they love the fries. Well, apparently, but now we can see Brian. Apparently, they cook part of the thing for their fries has beef juice or whatever, some kind of beef in there, and it created this huge uproar because they had pissed off billions of Indians who would go eat fries just to stay away from the beef, and all of a sudden they find out they've been eating beef the whole time. They're all going to hell. McDonald's just took them all to hell.
Yeah, well, because in that culture, of reincarnation, the highest level of reincarnation is to come back as a cow, and I think the white cow is the top dog. That was somebody's really sweet grandma.
How? I just can't get why? Why a cow? Cow's got to be the dumbest, ugliest animal. I want to be a dragon. Somebody make a religion where I come back as a fucking dragon, and I'm on board, baby. That's it. Just tell me I don't come back as a dragon, or I don't know, the sheets on a porn set, or something, I don't know, that invisible guy that can hang out in the girls' locker room and watch them shower all day. That's my religion. That's what I am.
Well, yeah, and the fact that, what I think it was, the guy that started that, he had a cow that he liked a lot, and everybody was hungry, and he said, no. See, that's my dad.
Have you ever seen
My dad, he used to kick everybody's ass. You try to eat him, he's going to kick your ass. So it just kind of, a lie kind of went out of control. Now there's just cows shitting, pissing everywhere. Cows and monkeys. Kick
in India?
Yeah.
Well, I like, Daniel Tosh has that joke about, he makes fun of Scientology, and he goes, no one ever follow a religion that's old enough or that's young enough for my dad to say, that's not true. And I horribly butchered that, but yeah, there's a Scientology here in Pasadena. There's actually a Scientology storefront right down the road, and every time I pass, that's all it is. So it says Scientology on the front. It's in Old Town Pasadena. It's this big bookstore, or it's not a bookstore. It says Scientology, right? But when you walk past it, all it is a bookstore for L. Ron Hubbard books, right? So shouldn't that be a pretty good indicator that it's bullshit? Right? If the only thing that your church has are science fiction novels, shouldn't that be a good indicator you're on the wrong track?
Yeah. Well, what's that weird Gonzo writer who killed himself?
The Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas guy?
Yeah, I'm waiting for that to come out as religion. That'd be perfect. That's the religion I want. If I'm going to go off of an author, it's going to be the guy that just drank. That's it.
There is so I have Apple TV, and my wife and I, we try to watch videos, or not videos, documentaries, maybe once a month. We like to see, once a week if we can. We just haven't had time lately. There's one called The Family. Have you seen that?
No, I've heard of it. I do the same thing. I try to catch one a week if I can.
The Family is about, and I hadn't heard, I guess they're making a movie about Jonestown. Which is kind of the same thing. Cults are pretty crazy when you get into it. But this one about The Family is about a cult in the 70s that there's this one older mid-40s dude, and he was the cult leader, and he just started this huge hippie compound that was all just drugs and sex all day, every day. But he was the leader, so he was the one that got to go around and do drugs and have sex with everybody, I guess. But it's not it's a documentary. This is reality. It was just him and a bunch of hot young chicks that he just convinced that he was God's rod or whatever it was, and he got to go around and do that.
See, I can't hate people like that. You got to applaud them. If you sucker a bunch of hot chicks into doing drugs and having sex with you, you win.
Yeah, exactly. You win everything. He, pretty good. I have trouble with that, and I'm 35, so I think because this guy was up there a little bit, so kudos to him. So speaking of strange, crazy cults, there's a lot of stuff we want to get into, but it just so happened that one of our topics today is something I want to talk to. But before I get onto that, I want to mention to everybody, if we do have any listeners out in Colorado Springs, and I think we do, some of you guys have probably seen me wearing these. If you don't know what it is, it's a hero bracelet. All of us in the military know what those are, because a lot of them wear them around. Anyway, this is for a buddy of mine, Dave Lyon, that died in Afghanistan around Christmas, or the day after Christmas last year, 2 days after Christmas last year. And his wife and his old unit got together a memorial run for him. So it's 5K. It's in Colorado, so it'll feel like it's 10K. But it's in Colorado Springs on Friday, June 27th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. You can check out eventbrite.com. That's eventbrite.com, and look up the Captain David Lyon Memorial 5K. It's his old unit, the 21st Logistics Readiness Squadron, out of Peterson Air Force Base is putting it up. If you do sign up, you get a shirt. You can order a shirt without signing up. I put this out on Facebook, on Twitter, and everything else, but if any of my listeners or readers or anybody that gives a shit who I am or anything, I have one book that's already out, Love Me When I'm Gone. Brian froze, taking a shot. That's awesome. And so I have the one book, Love Me When I'm Gone, that's already out. I have a new book, The Pact, that's going to be released under Tactical 16 this summer. So if anybody goes and takes part in that run, again, that'll be the Captain David Lyon Memorial Run on Friday, June 27th. The Pact should be coming out very soon after that. So if you take part in that run, get a picture of yourself there. Send me some kind of evidence that you actually were there and took part. I'll send you autographed copies of Love Me When I'm Gone and The Pact. And I'll do something else. Maybe I'll give you I don't know. We'll give you some props in the show. But that'd be really cool. So if anybody's out there in Colorado Springs, or if you have any friends that are there, I'd really like to make sure that there's a lot of support at that show, so they have a really good turnout, because it's it's a really good cause.
I tell you what, we didn't even really mention that for a second before the show, but there was a guy who started Red Leg Brewery in Colorado Springs.
Mm-hmm.
It was on my Wednesday night show about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and they're all veterans that work at this brewery.
Oh yeah,
you guys about doing something. We got a lot of connections out there. For a place I've never been to, I sure do know a lot of people.
You've never been to Colorado Springs?
Oh no.
I'm actually about to start going out there. Because I've got I started my new gig. I started doing the financial advising thing, and you can work anywhere that you're appointed, so I'm federally appointed for security, state registered for different things, but Colorado is one of the other places that I got registered. I'm going to start going out there once a month, I think, to go out there and work. So I miss being out there, man. It's an awesome town. Like, I have a condo there. I open up my door and I'm about moving there.
We lost him.
Yeah, I think we've been losing them all night. Well, it's an awesome place. I love Colorado Springs, man. If you should make it out there. You would like it. Pot's legal.
We're gonna
the scenery is gorgeous. You're at you're going up there for vacation?
Yeah.
Colorado Springs for vacation, or somewhere else in Colorado?
No, Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
I've got a Marine friend up there, and then figured we'd go knock on Eric Shaw's door too.
Yeah, it is a cool town, man. I got that's 10th Group is there, so all my old buddies from 10th Group are there in Colorado. So I've always got a couch to crash on whenever I go. So I think I'm gonna go back soon. But
we ought to do a live show while we're there, and have you fly out and have Joe fly out.
I don't like
get
flying.
everybody going.
I'll take a train.
It's gonna be a long ass train.
That's fine.
Actually, that might be a better way to do it. But aren't train tickets just as expensive as plane tickets?
I don't care about the price. I don't like flying. Like, when you're in an aluminum tube in the sky, you see what just happened recently. Pilot got sad. Never again. Never gonna see any of them again.
Is that what happened? Did they actually find out whatever happened to that stupid thing?
That's what I think happened. And I think CNN actually gave up covering it, so we'll never know.
Did they finally give up? Because I got sick of it. Like, I wasn't a CNN guy from the beginning, except Anderson Cooper, because man, is that guy dreamy. But I really got sick of it because throughout 2 weeks, that's all I could see every single time I turned on a TV. We have an office. One of the offices I work out of has, flat screens around this like little kind of coffee area. And every time I walked out, it was just, and that's all they were doing was just guessing. But they were filling 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with nothing but guessing about this stupid fucking plane.
Obama slammed them during the correspondence dinner. I mean, I know the jokes are written for him, but he had a good joke. He goes, "Yeah, we got Fox. No, he goes, we got CNN over here. They're still trying to find their table." And then he goes, "We got MSNBC over here. They're a little shell shocked. They've never seen an audience this big before." So it was funny. I like that. But just the fact that the president of the United States made a joke about a plane crashing,
Now, have you seen? So there's this story about Boko Haram, which is a terrorist organization in Africa, kidnapping 200-something schoolgirls. Have you guys heard of that?
Yeah.
I did.
So I like conspiracy theories. I follow a bunch of different conspiracy theory websites, people, just stuff, whatever. Did you see the Michelle Obama? She posted some picture with her with "Bring Our Girls Back" or some stupid shit like that.
Have I seen some interesting redos on that?
Yeah, you can't, you got it in this day and age, with the whole just rotten e-cards and the whole PowerPoint Rangers on Facebook. You can't do something like that. But that's a big thing. I've seen a lot of people coming out saying, prepare yourself. This is a smokescreen for something. It's either a smokescreen trying to do misdirection from the Benghazi probe, so that hasn't been too heavily covered, but the House got approval. Well, they approved it themselves, but they're going through and they're doing another kind of in-depth investigation into Benghazi. Speaking of which, this happened since the last time. Did you see that stupid senator what's her name from Missouri? That made a joke on Twitter. She said, "I'm just going to mention Benghazi and see, or anytime I need a laugh, I'll just mention Benghazi," or something crazy like that. I saw that. I went as Twitter crazy as I could. It was 2 o'clock in the morning when I saw it, and I was just like, I don't know. That's ridiculous. I want to know if that was her or if she's one of these people that has somebody managing her account for her. Either one, whoever it was, should be hung. Just beaten to death and then hung in the middle of the street. Yeah. But that just,
and that's
yeah.
I'm all for joking about anything. It wasn't even funny. It wasn't even a good joke. If you're gonna put yourself out there as a politician and you're gonna poke fun at the opposing political party and use a tragedy as the punchline, you better make sure that is a really funny fucking joke. Something where anybody's gonna laugh, what's her name? The old lady, comedian.
Phyllis Diller.
No. The one that used to fill in for Johnny Carson once in a while. She's got a show on E! with her daughter. Got all that plastic.
Joan Rivers.
Joan Rivers. She made a really good joke on the Today Show about those girls that were kidnapped and held captive for 10 years in Cleveland.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
He had a really good joke. It's kidnapping children is bad, but the joke she's on a show on E! with her daughter, and she lives with her daughter. And she was joking around that she's got a really tiny bedroom in the house, and she goes, the 3 girls in Cleveland had a bigger room than I did. And then they did the fake. The Today Show did the fake apology. We're outraged. We're upset. We're outraged. Here's our fake apology. And then they asked Joan Rivers, are you sorry? Well, she made another joke. And I'd like that to where she didn't back down. She, screw you guys. She goes, what should they be upset about? She goes, they lived rent-free for 10 years.
That's awesome.
So that lady that age, it's you're not gonna go toe-to-toe with her. She's not gonna back down.
Yeah, she can go full retard. She's got nothing she's got to back off of, man. She's got about 5 years left in the cave. Have you seen her? She looks like she's, you see that, stereotypical too many facelifts? She's she's just
jokes about it. Yeah, there's a commercial on TV where she's talking about something and she goes, is it good? Am I smiling? I can't tell. She was hot as hell back in the day.
Was she? I've never seen her like anything but old-ass Joan Rivers. I've never seen young Joan Rivers.
Black and white on Johnny Carson back in the day. I guess her and Johnny Carson had an affair. She was complimenting Johnny Carson immensely. But I saw a still photo of her when she was younger, and she had like a miniskirt on. I'm like, wow, yeah, good for you, Johnny Carson.
Interesting. It's hard to look good in black and white. I think looking good in uniform is very difficult. Like I've seen some women that like you see in uniform, they make a uniform look good, and you know like if a chick can make a uniform look good,
oh yeah,
she's pretty smoked when it comes off. Black and white I think is the same thing. If you can look good in black and white, then you definitely got something going for you.
Yeah. I've never found one yet. I've tried a lot to jerk off to old like pictures from the 80s. I still have yet to find that Apex photo. So.
You know, when I was a kid, you took what you could get. A buddy of mine's older brother had a subscription to National Lampoon magazine. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
It's like it's got the one naked chick in every magazine would be like heavy metal cartoons and joke stuff, and then there'll be one naked chick. And it gets kind of old, but like when you're a 13-year-old boy, like you can use the same picture of the same naked chick forever. So I remember this one, my favorite issue had Vanna White naked, but it didn't tell you which one was Vanna White naked, right? So it had Vanna White's face on like 30 different pictures, and they had taken different naked bodies and put it with her face. And so you didn't know which one was right, but it really didn't matter because I was a 13-year-old boy.
Does it matter? There's 30 naked chicks on there with Vanna White's face. That's awesome.
Exactly.
Mine was Penny's flyer, and it had a bra and panties thing, and yeah, those you get creative. You know, for people out there that laugh like, that'll never come in handy again. That's a skill that will come in handy. When you're in Iraq, you got nothing. That's a skill that will come in handy. That's all I got.
Yeah.
03, good imagination saved me.
Yeah, and that's a key thing. If you ever got like a 10 or 13-year-old boy and he starts getting in trouble and he starts getting like angry and way too like just going nuts, just accidentally leave a Victoria's Secret laying around the house somewhere where he's going to find it, and everything will calm down real quickly. So speaking of Scientology, wow, that was a pretty big tangent. So there's something that I saw, and this isn't Scientology per se, but it is Scientology. This is something that we were talking about a little bit before the show, and it's this thing that I've been hearing a lot about lately. But there's this, I don't even know what you call it anymore. You call it a scandal, or I don't know. It's not a rumor. It's just whatever. It's an actual scandal. But there's this guy, Bryan Singer, and I heard about this a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. But Time Magazine actually wrote an article about this, and like for Time Magazine to come out against somebody in Hollywood, I think that's a pretty big deal because I think Time Magazine, the Democratic Party, Hollywood, I think they're all just kind of, well, it's funny, in terms of this article, they're bedfellows, right? They're all some kind of crazy, freaky sex orgy party. But this scandal with Bryan Singer, there are a couple, well, it started off as one, and now there are multiple plaintiffs in this case against him. There's some from the U.S., some from Britain, and I guess, I don't know if there's other countries involved, but these people are saying that Bryan Singer, they were all, they're trying to break into the scene. They were like up-and-coming actors or wannabes or whatever they were trying to get in. But they're saying that they got taken to these parties hosted by Bryan Singer when they were underage, and there were these parties where there would be these, like, it would be just powerful men in Hollywood. So Bryan Singer is a director. He was the X-Men director. I don't know why that makes him so powerful, but I thought that movie was kind of shit anyway. But they talk about Broadway producers, Gary Goddard. Let's see, there's all these other people that are kind of a big deal in Hollywood, and they're basically saying that they would be brought to these parties and either tossed around or raped or harassed or like forced to have sex with men, with these big powerful Hollywood men, and they all started coming out about it. And even Corey Feldman, I had never heard of this before, but Corey Feldman and Corey Haim, which, for us, that's Hollywood for us when we were kids, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, Lost Boys, Stand By Me, The Goonies. Corey Feldman came out and said that pedophilia is the #1 problem in Hollywood. And I didn't even know this, but he actually put out a memoir last year documenting sexual abuse. He said he and Corey Haim had suffered at the hands of powerful men in the movie business. It's kind of a crazy thing because, like, you know, Tom Cruise is kind of famous, and what's his name? His other Scientology fuck.
Travolta.
John Travolta.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but the creepy massage guy lifting his ass up a little bit more.
There you go. They're kind of, they're kind of renowned for, like, going after people, like, with the claws out, anybody that says they're gay.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where
that's a long rumor that I've heard about. You know, that's, you know, that Tom Cruise supposedly and John Travolta supposedly are gay, and that's the I guess the dirt that Scientology has on them. So that's why they're so, like, you know, the mouthpieces of the church. Because think about it, that could, I mean, not that there's anything wrong with being gay, but that could ruin Tom Cruise's career. You know? Could it?
I mean, at this point, could it? Because I mean, I think the rumors.
I think it could. John Travolta, not so much. You see him in Hairspray, yeah. But Tom Cruise, I think, is a little bit different.
Yeah, but I think that's my point. Like, I think, you know, he's had, what's her name, the last chick that he married, and even, you know, we live out here in Los Angeles, so my wife has a lot of friends that are actors and actresses, and there are people that, like, we know that were actively part of that. They were casting for his wife, right? Tom Cruise, his last wife. They had, like, casting calls here. Like, they didn't meet in a bar and hook up, right? Kate, whatever his name, Kat, whatever the hell her name is. And that's the funny thing. She's completely gone from the public sphere now, right? That was this agreement they had. His manager or his agent or whatever, or maybe it was Scientology. They were basically shopping around. They were trying to find a young actress who had something to gain, who wasn't, like, big time but wanted to be big time. Hey, you marry this creepy gay guy that's into some weird shit for a while. Don't talk about it, and we'll make sure that you get some big movie roles. Sure enough, that happened, and then as soon as she divorced him, bam. Like, have you seen her in another movie lately?
Yeah, because she was in what? That's some stupid TV show on, like, CW or something like that.
She was in Dawson's Creek.
Was it Dawson's Creek?
Yeah. And then she was in a couple movies, but then as soon as they got married, she started getting actually, like, big parts.
I'm glad you stopped me after I said Dawson's Creek, because I was going to start naming off more of those nighttime tween soap opera type shows, and you just saved me from it.
See, that's creepy. Dawson's Creek is the only one I know, but that right there, my friend, is creepy. It was really creepy. So, like, my wife was in Bring It On. So my wife was in a movie about cheerleaders, right? About young cheerleaders. We have more old men that come up to us on the street and recognize her from that show. And it's like, dude, I don't see you with any kids. Like, you don't have a daughter running around with you, so what the fuck are you doing watching this movie? Probably the same thing I was doing. We actually used to make, we would make new guys on our team watch that movie while we cleaned guns. It was the creepiest thing you could ever see, like walking in and seeing a bunch of Green Berets cleaning machine guns and watching, like, hot young chicks in cheerleading outfits. It was, it's pretty interesting. But back to Scientology. I mean, that's my thing, though. Is, like, doesn't it get to a certain point where the rumors are doing more harm? Like, they're trying to cover them up. You know what I mean? Like, that's doing more harm than good. There's another documentary about Lance Armstrong, and it was from one of these guys that did a documentary about him fighting all these allegations. Mm-hmm. And the guy got really pissed off when Lance came out and actually, you know, admitted that he had been doping and using steroids and all this stuff. This guy was legitimately pissed off because, as a documentarian, he had followed him around for like 6 months and, like, had covered his side of the story and basically put everything that he wanted to put out there, saying that it was untrue and he hadn't been doing it. And so he made him sit down, and he actually got an interview and did a documentary about the reality about Lance because he was just pissed. And that's kind of the thing, like, aren't you just pissing more people off by not admitting it when, like, like Bryan Singer, when you're having people come out all across the world saying, yeah, you molested us and raped us as young boys, like, aren't you doing more harm than good by still lying about it when it starts getting to the point where it's obvious?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, pedophilia obviously that's one thing. I mean, he's in a group with Adam Ant and the guitar player from the Who, for famous pedophiles. If he, if it's true that he was, Adam Ant was busted a couple times, and then the guitar player from the Who, he was busted with kiddie porn on his computer. He said he was using it for research. Research. Yeah, it was a famous story. It came out a while ago, 5, 6, 10 years ago, something like that.
That's why I don't like the Who.
Yeah, I never did like the Who. But I mean, as for like the gay, the evil, powerful gay circles within Hollywood, like who cares? Who cares if you're gay? It's like, okay, anybody that's at the Tony Awards, pretty sure they've taken it up the. I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. I don't know. Hugh Jackman, stop lying. That's why I didn't like you as Wolverine.
Oh my God! Yeah, everybody that tried to sing. Yeah, everybody that was in what is it? Les Miserables. Every one of those guys that sang. Now Russell Crowe. I thought you were okay. Actually, my brother-in-law is stunt doubled for Russell Crowe in Superman and a couple of the movies, but no. After seeing that, you're a little too comfortable with singing, buddy. I don't think so. Russell Crowe.
Damn Australians, man. They love to sing and fight. It's an odd mix.
Well, it's good for us because Australian a lot of them are pretty hot, and Australian men are, I guess, like dicks, like huge dicks, and they just love to beat the shit out of their women. So Australian chicks love American guys. So that's her in. And it's funny because like we go crazy. Like you hear a chick with a British accent. If I hear a chick with a deep New Jersey accent, I just want to smack her. But like it's the one place that our American accent helps us out is in Australia. Australian chicks love American accents.
I'll have to remember
I
that.
can vouch for
I don't know what it is, man. I had a buddy that was a camp counselor, and he said that was the first time he knew chicks that would come over from Australia every summer, and yeah, he said they just dug Americans. And then every time I've ever met an Australian chick, I've found that to be pretty true. But
really, that's weird. I would think the only chicks that like us are like Filipinos or girls from Nigeria that weren't sold.
Taiwanese, dude, Taiwanese chicks.
Like the chicks where it's like, I could either live in a house that's on sticks, or I'm gonna go to Australia. Seems like they got their shit together. Where it's like, as an American man, I kind of find it hard to believe that anybody around the world thinks we're attractive, other than like the need. There's the need and the want. I think
that was a fun part. When I was in 110, I was stationed in Germany, and we would have, that's the typical joke about Green Berets. Like, to be a Green Beret, you got to have, you got to have a Harley, you got to have the Sunto watch, you got to have the Yarborough knife, and you got to have, like, you're on your 5th wedding, right? You're on your 5th marriage. So we'd have a lot of these guys that were on their 2nd or 3rd or 4th marriage, and we were in Germany. So these guys would go off on a 4-day weekend to, like, the Czech Republic, or somewhere else, like off into Eastern Europe, like land of the really, really hot but malnourished and like rife with poverty chicks, and come back with a wife. And it would be like this, mid-40s to 50s, like a lot of our support guys, so maybe a little bald up here, maybe a little wide in the waistband down here, and they would come back with like 20-year-old, 5'10", smoking hot blonde chicks. You're just like, yeah, all right, bud. You just showed her the credit cards, and that was it, huh?
It's hungry, and you got 100 in your pocket. She's yours.
Yeah, that was the funny thing is, I guess everybody wins in that kind of arrangement, because they would come, they'd stay with them in Germany, and then they'd move back to Colorado, or they'd move back to the States, and then as soon as they hit that point where they could divorce them and still have their green card, they would leave their ass.
That's why you got, is it the K9 visa?
If you marry an American?
Yeah, if you marry an American, I think it's the K9 visa. If they divorce you, they're gone. You got to get one of those visas. You got to make sure it's one of those, because that means that hot chick's going to have to stay with you.
But then again, like, it's a perfect exit plan for both of you. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not a very attractive guy and you get to sleep with this like banging hot chick for whatever it is, 5 years.
So was pushing the air conditioner out the window. When she's out in the driveway. That's a good exit strategy.
I guess it's a pretty good exit strategy. But back to Scientology.
Yeah, speaking of exit strategy.
I've got a 45. That's always a good exit strategy. But that's my thing.
Scientology creeps me out. It really does. It's very powerful, and it's new. It's like, look at the Christians. They suffered for a long time trying to get their shit together and take over Europe. You know, it took them a while. You know, Scientology, like 20 years later, you see a bunch of stupid Dianetics commercials in the 80s. Remember that? Books with the volcanoes?
Read the book. Yep.
Yeah, read the book. And then 20 years later, they control Hollywood and, you know, I think a nice storefront in every major city.
And you know what's funny? Like, I had never really put two and two together because the reality of how creepy Scientology is wasn't really like popular news until relatively recently. But when I was a freshman in college, I moved in. You know, I went to my dorm the summer after high school, and I met this guy that was from. I think he had grown up in Austin or Westlake or something like that. He was pretty wealthy. He'd come from a pretty wealthy family, and we both, you know, same kind of thing. Like, it was the first time we ever had true, like, complete, like, no parents around, right? So what did we do? It was the late 90s. It was 1998. Internet was not great, but better, you know, still kind of better. The internet in our dorm was faster than either one of us had ever had at home. So we would just full in, like, on the internet and, you know, smoke pot all day and then get on the internet and find crazy stuff. And I remember about halfway through the summer, this guy started coming to me. He would print up like hundreds of pages off the internet and just come in and just like start spewing this nonsense to me about, like, dude, did you know this? Did you know that we all come from aliens? And there's this evil alien overlord named whatever that lives just outside our galaxy, and our souls go up to him, and they come back down. I was like, that doesn't sound right, dude. Maybe we should just go smoke another bowl and, like, go, I don't know, watch football or something. And it wasn't until, you know, years later that I started hearing about Scientology that I realized that's what Scientology is. Like, that's what they actually believe.
Yeah. Yep.
It's some crazy stuff. I can't say it's crazy. You know, Brother Robert Johnson and I actually had a pretty long conversation about this. Saying Scientology is crazy, and I know I'm going to get massacred for this one, but if you look at any other religious...
You're taking the point I was going to make, but go ahead.
Well, then I'm going to shut up. I'll let you make it.
No, I want you to stay because I want to see how close we are via the internet.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, how you can't really say one religion is crazy and another one is not crazy because they're all a little insane. Like, any one of these are, and like that's my belief, and that's kind of, you know, like, so Freemasonry. The reason, like, the Catholic Church hates Freemasons out in the open, but in reality, most of the popes have been Masons. Like John Paul, the one that got shot, did this thing that we do if Mason's in trouble. There's a lot of other, you know, crazy stuff that they do. There's a Mason coming to sing at my Scottish Rite thing. That's a reverend, right? So we're a lot closer to the church than most people think. But that's why Masons allow anybody from any faith to be in. We don't care who you call God as long as you believe that there's a God, right? And that's because it's part of our understanding that we all come from the same place, right? And so whether you want to call it somebody else or whatever you want to call your God or however you want to pray, or if you say you can't eat bacon or you can marry 10 women, whatever, as long as you believe in a higher power, right? And so that's this big discussion that Robert Johnson and I had was about that idea that, like, can you really call Scientology crazy? Because, I mean, look at some of the stuff that's in ours. And I'd love to see, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff that goes around Facebook. A lot of Facebook just rots your brain. But there's a lot of really cool stuff about, you know, on Facebook that people will put up. And the one that I like in this context is these things that people will put up and go, okay, so you think we should follow the Bible? Like, you think God hates gay people, so we think we should just outlaw all gay people? Well, here's what Leviticus says. And so if you want to go by the Bible, Leviticus says you are sinning if you eat meat on a Friday, if you have a tattoo, if you disgrace your body in any way, if you love your wife, or if you honor, all these crazy things that people selectively take the parts of their religion that they like and forget about all the other crazy shit that's in there. And they're all like that. Like, we as Americans, most of us only think Islam has this crazy stuff. That's not in the Quran. The Quran does not say go kill Americans or go kill the infidel. That is bullshit.
It was.
Yeah. fatwas. But that's just an interpretation.
I like a good blended T-shirt that doesn't shrink, so I'm already fucked right there. I like tattoos. I'm screwed. A clam bake in the summertime. You get right there. That's 3 reasons I'm not going upstairs. That's 3 reasons right there. You know, yeah. There was. I know exactly what you mean with comparing. You know, like the little points that some people try to gloss over. But the thing is, like, a lot of people I know, myself included, we make fun of Scientology and Mormons because it's like it's fun to do. But here's the thing: it's like we know who wrote those books. We know exactly who wrote them: Joseph Smith and L. Ron Hubbard. We know who started it. Like, you look at the Bible, the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Quran, I don't really, maybe Confucius, we know what he did, but other religions that, okay, these books, these scrolls, these ancient texts, like, who wrote it? It says who wrote it, but who really? Nobody really knows, They say it's David, or it's Mark, or it's Paul, or it's, this crazy dude up on a mountain. Are we really sure? This, we know who did it. Some drunk guy from Western New York, and then some that started, looking in an old hat, and then some really shitty writer.
Dum da dum dum dum.
So it's like, the ones, it's just, I don't know, maybe they're too new. That's why we can make fun of them. It's like, maybe if we were around in the year 196 or 215, we would laugh at Christianity. It's like, I know the guy who wrote that, but you hear the stuff that Peter's trying to pass on? That dude, you don't even want to know what the hell he did in the cave.
You remember that party where he was taking that? Oh my God!
Yeah, like everybody used to walk around in 1215 AD and make fun of Peter and Paul because these dudes are getting messed up in the cave and writing. I told them it's not a good idea. So I mean, I don't know. 500 years from now, yeah, everybody, the biggest church is going to be the Church of Mormon and Scientology.
I love, what is it, South Park the movie or one of the episodes where somebody dies and gets up to heaven and it's all Mormons and they're like, oh Jesus, we're fucked. Like, what if they all right? What if they all right? Because I tell you what, at least on the outside, they're all happy and they're pretty good looking. So you know what? Like, you can't really mess with them on that.
Yeah, there's not too many ugly. Yeah, there's. I mean, I know some people that some Catholics, some ugly busted ass Catholics. I'm one of them. But you look at Mormons, they're all like they're waspy. They're blonde hair, blue eyes, or they're tall. They're just like what you paint in your mind as the atypical family. That's them. Right. Except for that man's interchangeable with 15 other families on the block.
Are they not allowed to have caffeine? There's something really weird that they're.
Yep, they can't have any caffeine or anything like that. Because I worked with a guy who was Mormon, a really good buddy of mine. I would say stuff about Mormonism and he would get pissed and yell at me. I'm like, what the hell? Wait a second, you're drinking a Mountain Dew. You shut up, liar. And it's like, that would be like me telling somebody you're gonna go to hell because you got a tattoo as I'm going to town on a pastrami sandwich on Friday during Lent.
Right. We had a Mormon on our ODA for about 30 minutes. This guy, so we had a pretty strict rule. ODAs, you have your team room. You each have your team room. We keep, your equipment. We'd have our desk. We'd do our paperwork there, keep all of our stuff there. But it's a pretty strict rule. There's a lot of stuff in there that people can't see. They don't have the clearance. So you don't bring, wives are not allowed in the team room. Kids are not allowed in the team room. Anybody that's not on the team is not allowed in the team room. You got to have a clearance. There's, key codes and all kinds of locks and stuff that you got to get. You got to go through multiple layers of security to get up there. Mm-hmm. So this dude had been in the company for about, for a little while, not too long. They sent him up to our team. We were all out at the range, so they told him the code, the combination, get into our door. We get back from the range, and this dude is up there with his kids in the team room, and he was Mormon, so he had 12 of the fucking things. And it's a team room. It's a fucking ODA of Green Berets. You know what I mean? So there's titty pics all over the place. There's big old posters of hot naked chicks. And so this guy had gone through and taken Post-it notes and put them over the nipples on every single one of these titty ticks. And so we walked back from the range. You get in, that's the first thing that we see is like all the titties are covered up on all these pictures. We're like, what the fuck is going on? And then we hear kids. You see these kids running back and forth across the hall, and we're like, oh, hell no. So when we actually saw him, we made him call his wife and send his wife home, or send his wife to pick up the kids. And then we made him sit down and watch that South Park episode with us.
Oh, that's really messed up.
Yeah. Then he started crying, and then he left.
That's kind of that's dumb. I don't understand the whole thing with sex. You know, it's fun. We're here because of it. We're all here because of sex, except for maybe that one chick that was born from a test tube back in the 70s. You know, she's the anomaly. We're all here because of sex. And you know what's kind of creepy? I want everybody out there listening. Guess what? Your parents had a lot of foreplay before the sex. You know, a lot of it. Dirty foreplay.
Especially if your mom's hot and your dad's not. You know,
yeah.
you had to have some tricks.
Yeah. And if your father's Korean and your mother's not, guess what? There was a ton of foreplay going on there. You know? So,
well, I've never understood that. Are you Catholic? Or...
I'm a little bit you know what? I have a little bit of everything. Mm-hmm. My grandmother was raised Catholic and Eastern Orthodox. I got a priest in the family. There's the Jewish part. I got a Catholic priest in the family, and Episcopalians, you know, a little bit of everything. And I identify with trying to be nice, you know. Deep down inside, I love making fun of people. Man, the Penn State tweet that I had the other day during the NFL draft was fucking classic. But at the end of the day, you know, I try to be nice. So I kind of go off of my own rules with religion. I believe in God. You know, let's give God that name. I believe in God, and I believe that, you know, I like the Ten Commandments. I think those are pretty good. Nothing should have been written after that. Mm-hmm. Nothing at all. I think they nailed it on that. Don't be a douchebag. Be nice. Be kind. And everything will be good. That's it.
That whole not coveting your neighbor's wife, though. Like, I live in California. There are some hot chicks walking around here, man.
Yeah, okay.
That's a rough one.
At 9.
What if your neighbor's a douchebag and his wife's hot?
Yeah, that's... I kind of see that. Yeah, definitely. Okay, I like 9 out of the 10 commandments.
But that's the thing that, I mean, you're right. So, like, Catholics are probably the most renowned for being like, shame on you, sex is dirty, you're an evil person. Like, why? Why is that so big with Catholics?
I don't know. That's the thing. And I think a lot of the problems we have in the country we live in, I could only speak for America. I can't speak for Canada. Nor do I want to, but we do have some Canadian listeners. Hi, you two. Sex is a major problem in society. Sex is a great thing. Sex is fun. Sex is healthy. You know, I mean, like I said, we're here because of it. You know, you get the occasional, you know, weirdo, but you know, other than that, you know, we're all here because of dirty, dirty sex. What's the problem with it? Why, if your religion says you could have 50 wives, why are you putting post-it notes on nipples of a secret squirrel room? That's fucking retarded right there. And then I was listening to something on Joe Rogan podcast, and I didn't know this. The skirts on table legs, they said they put skirts on table legs so it wouldn't entice people just from seeing the leg of a table. You know, that hard, you know, long wooden rod. So they put.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so that's where table skirts were put on it, so you wouldn't see, you know, that flaccid, that, you know, that hard, you know, wood.
That's why it's called a table skirt.
Yeah, so they put a cloth over it, so they kind of, you know, make you I don't know, not think about, I don't know, doing a table. That's really weird. But that is pretty weird. I want to find out more about that. But you think about it. You look at it, like, prostitution is awful, right? That shit is old.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Oldest business in the world, right?
I tell you, if I'm single and I have the option to go down the street and get a fucking double bacon cheeseburger and a piece of ass, I'm there all day long. You know, that'd be the greatest thing in the world. Am I gonna want to go commit a crime if I know, like, do I want to go be an asshole in a bar and go start a fight in a bar, you know, because of some dude that bumped into me and spilt my beer? Or do I want to go down the street and, you know, pay the local legal prostitute, you know, a visit? I'm going to go pay her a visit. I'm not going to be that idiot at the bar like, hey, man, you bumped into me and spilled my beer. Oh, dude, here's $10. Go down the street. She's open. Okay, sorry. You know?
I had a guy in my unit in Germany that was like he was the bachelor, right? So I wasn't married, but I had Cindy back here, so I stayed pretty on the even keel. But this guy was just like, he had been a ranger. He was like a very good looking, like in amazing shape. He had been single, and in Special Forces, he was on his like 8th deployment, so he had a ton of money saved up. He drove like a BMW 7 Series. He was doing pretty well. He had this theory, not theory, I mean, I guess it was proven at this point, but he would always do that. We had there was a place in Stuttgart called 7 Floors of Whores, right? It's this seven-story high whorehouse. It's just 7 floors of whores. And he would go there every weekend night before he went out when we were in town. And he just swore, if you went out and you got laid and then went out to the bar, like you were guaranteed to pick up and take multiple chicks home, any chick that you wanted to. And it's something about, you know, we're all just creatures. We're all just animals. We're all mammals at the end of the day. And that was his thing. He was like, the women can smell it on you. They can just smell it, because if you're talking kind of far away from a chick, she doesn't really give a shit. But then as soon as he would get closer, he was like, you could see it in their eyes. They like something in the back of their mind, smell it, and they know it, and so they're all over you.
That's the thing. I've had a couple girls in the past that I dated, and just the scent, like when you smell an attraction to somebody, that's very primitive, you know? I mean, it's like, what do dogs do? They pee and they sniff, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's all about smelling and marking your spot. When you smell a girl and you're attracted to her, not from her perfume or anything like that, from just a natural odor, a natural scent, guess what? That proves one thing. We're just like dogs, you know? Yeah. We're just like any other animal. And you look at it, with sex, you want to be the best in a relationship, or perceived to be the best, because then you're the most desired. So if you're an average guy and you got a really hot girlfriend, guess what? Other hot girls are going to look and see, that guy either has money or he's got some other stuff going on for him. He looks appealing to the masses. Mm-hmm. If you had prostitution, guess what? You wouldn't have a guy like that faking it, you know, and telling some really hot chicks a bunch of lies. Because if prostitution was legal, everything would kind of even off. Ugly people would be with ugly people, hot people would be with hot people, because there's no competitiveness. Because at the end of the day, you could go down the street, get your bacon cheeseburger, and then you could go do your thing. So
maybe that's why Germans, like, you know, there's an interesting thing about like having lived in Germany and seeing, like, I've lived in France, I've lived in Germany, I've spent a lot of time in Italy, I've spent a lot of time around all over the U.S. The thing about the U.S., like you were talking about earlier, like you spill a beer on somebody in a bar and they'll punch you in the face, like immediately starts a fight. Germany, France, like guys will get mad at each other for the same thing, spill a beer. Like yell at each other, get like face to face, like noses touching, yelling and spitting at each other, and then they'll just go, okay, all is klar, we're done, and then they'll just walk away with nobody ever punching each other. And I think it's probably because they can just go, well, I can get no fight, might get my ass kicked, because, you know, now with the UFC around, you don't know if you're fighting, you know, Ray Machado or if you're fighting just some fat dude in a bar, or I can, you know, and maybe go to jail, maybe get my teeth knocked out, maybe have to pay for whatever happens to this guy, maybe get sued, or I can just go around the corner and bang someone and like, you know, run up all this steam.
And it shouldn't just be for, I'm not just saying prostitution for women. Guys, too, if you can sling it, by all means. Because there's some girls out there that, I mean, there's some girls out there. They're a little undesirable, just like there's guys out there.
Mm.
You know, I tell you what. You know how ugly girl would freaking be happy and be a little more self-confident? Because guys, even ugly guys, trust me, I am one. Ugly guys, I have a certain ego to me. I don't know why. I don't really deserve it, but I have it. And usually when you get a girl that doesn't, you know, is maybe has some physical flaws or anything like that, they beat themselves up more than guys. Like me, I'm comfortable in my skin. Like whatever, I'm skinny, I got, you know, a big nose, and I have permanent bags under my eyes. Guess what? There's a market for me. I understand marketing. I market myself fairly well. Women, on the other hand, when they have a flaw, because they're supposed to be perceived as perfect and beautiful and, you know, this delicate flower, and you get this beast walking around, you know, she's not going to feel good about herself. Well, guess what? If that, you know, homely chick walks down the street and gets herself a bacon cheeseburger and, you know, and a dude on the side, she's going to feel good about herself, and guess what? Now, maybe you can get a lot out of her in terms of, like, societal use. Like, she's going to be more productive for society. I just think everybody will be happy if they have the option to go down the street and take care of their business, you know?
Isn't that the entire concept of that movie, Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo? I think that was the entire movie.
I hate that guy. That guy's a millionaire, and we're talking to each other on YouTube at 11:15 at night on a Sunday night.
That's the world. I heard somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I heard one of their little group being interviewed on some show, and this guy was like, you know, you guys have put out a lot of shit movies. Like what? No, they were going to film Grown Ups 2, and I think it might have been Rob Schneider or one of those guys, and the person hosting was kind of like, Grown Ups 2, like Grown Ups 1 was a stinking pile of shit. Like why in the world would you decide to go film the second one? And he said, 100% honestly, he was like, because somebody paid for it, and we're all friends, and it's an excuse for us to go to Hawaii for a week or for a couple months and make a lot of money and film this movie. We really don't care if it's any good or not, but we're all buddies, and people pay us to hang out and film it. So whatever. So who's the stupid one? You know, that's like, I see, like every once in a while I'll see these movies and I'll go, geez, why are they making another one of those? That was horrible. But then you start to think about it, well, because somebody out there like thinks that's a good investment. Hey, you know, like there are a lot of people with a lot of money and not a whole lot of taste.
That's the thing. Somebody likes it. There's a market for anything. I mean, you got a marketing background. I mean, think about it. Why the hell are there Cheez-Its? Cheez-Its are the most disgusting fucking things in the world. They're square, they're orange, they got some fake-looking salt on them.
All right, we're gonna have to.
I don't like Cheez-Its.
We're gonna have to part ways here. Have you ever had the Tabasco Cheez-Its?
I don't like those either. I like cheese and I like Tabasco. Why they're trying to ruin it for me?
Oh my God, those things are the best things. In my pre-Army, now legal in Colorado pot smoking days, this is before the Cheez-Its, the gods of Cheez-It had decided that was a good idea to put together. We would just get a bowl of Cheez-Its and just pour Tabasco sauce all over it and just eat them like that. It's great until they get soggy at the bottom. But those Tabasco ones I just love those to death, man. Those, I don't
like them because, I don't know, it's just they make my mouth dry. Like, you put I can't put one of anything in my mouth, food-wise.
Thought we were going to have a, what's that comedian? He's on Opie and Anthony all the time. Oh my God.
Norton?
I thought we were gonna have an Ed Norton moment for a second.
I when I eat stuff, I like to just. Food is my vice. I'd like food. I like good food. Like I was kicking ass on some avocado yesterday, so it doesn't necessarily have to be, a processed, food that is constructed just for your taste buds. I like food. I like shoving food in my mouth. Cheez-Its, I'll put a lot in my mouth. But then, like, you could spit a ball of Cheez-Its out. Like, you can make a baseball of Cheez-Its. Like, it just makes my mouth too dry. I don't like it.
I don't know, man. Sometimes you just gotta take one for the team.
I also don't drink milk with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah, see, now that's just communist.
I had my first bowl of cereal last week and forever, and I picked Captain Crunch. a big mistake. Like, it's just the scratchiest, most nasty cereal. Like, it tastes good, especially the milk afterwards. It's there's some kind of form of cocaine in there. I know it. But
Fruity Pebbles. The best after cereal milk is Fruity Pebbles.
yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I don't like the no, you know what's a good one too? The Cinnamon Toast Crunch milk.
Okay, yeah, you got me there. That's a good point.
Throw any booze in there too you want, and you make yourself
Birrios.
White Russian.
There. I had Birrios. That kind of subsisted me through a lot of really rough mornings in college, where you'd make yourself a bowl of Birrios, and help you get going.
Yeah, Cocoa Crisp. The Fruity Cocoa Pebbles. I had to
with beer.
No, I had to do Cocoa Pebbles with water once. I poured a bowl of Cocoa Pebbles when I lived with my best friend years ago, and you open up the fridge. There's no milk. There's nothing, and I'm like, all right, faucet time. Turn on the faucet. It just wasn't. It wasn't as good.
It's not the same.
No, it's
so
not.
Speaking of Cocoa Pebbles and college, you and I were both talking about something before the show that I wanted to talk about. Well, it's funny that we both wanted to talk about it. I was watching. I watch Fox Business News when I'm on the treadmill, and I saw this thing the day of the draft. I know that you were watching the whole draft. You were live tweeting while you were watching it.
Yeah. That was.
I haven't had time. I don't know. I love playing football. Now that I have my son, so I want to start getting more back into football with him.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't watched it in years. I think I watched it a lot until I moved to Germany, and they didn't have it when I was in Germany, and now I just haven't gotten back into it since I got out of the Army. But I will soon. But on Fox Business News, they do like this investors hour daily. And this thing came up, and they were asking, like, what financial advice would you give to, like, these brand new millionaires, like all these rookies, like all these guys that came out? And it's funny because you had the same thing. Like, you had the same thing that you wanted to talk about, that you were basically talking, before the show, that you want to get into this a little bit.
Yeah, it's just people think instant millionaires, and in a way they are, but the article I read was Eddie George, former Tennessee Titan running back, was saying, like, he was basically broke after he played. And he played for like 9-10 years. And the one story was he walked into a shoe store during his early playing days and saw a pair of alligator shoes in his size 14. And he was so excited that they had a pair, he bought 20 pair of them. Alligator shoes, kind of expensive. It's not like buying a pair of Keds or Crocs or British Knights or anything like that. Very expensive shoes. He brought 20 pair, and he said, I don't even think I wore any of those, And there's not a market for size 14 alligator shoes.
Especially a secondary market.
Yeah, there's not a secondary market. Like, maybe 10.5s, that seems to be like the average foot, I think, for a man. 10, 10.5, 11, somewhere around there. So I think you could get away with that, but... And it kind of dawned on me, like, what about if I was a football player? Because it told a story of there was a guy, I forgot his name. He's a Rhodes Scholar. He was drafted in 2010. He played a couple years. His name, I forgot. He played for the Titans. He played a couple years, and he walked away from football. He's actually going to be a brain surgeon. So,
are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's a Rhodes Scholar. Full ride, I guess, to go to medical school, can be a brain surgeon, and I guess he's actually, I think the story I read, wants to do a lot of work with concussions and things of that nature. But he goes, I could go to medical school, or I could play in the NFL. So I guess he made a commitment to, like, I'll play for a few years. He played for a few years. He got paid, and he walked away. Now he's in school again. But he said, he goes, I didn't even know what a credit score was when I first started college. And this is a Rhodes Scholar, and he had no idea what a credit score. I know a credit score, but it's like the inner workings of a credit score. I'm 35. I still don't know how they figure that freaking Chinese algebra out. To be honest with you, I don't even understand algebra, much less the Chinese shit. But then it was like, they're talking about this player and that player who used to play in the league. They have these committees, and they have these groups where they try to mentor and nurture rookie players because the average rookie salary is $450,000. And minimum salary for a veteran is like $850,000. He asked some former player asked the group of rookies or pre-draftees, like, how many of you guys have seen $10,000 before? And none of them had their hands up. He goes, now guess what? The poorest one of you is going to have $450,000.
Yep.
And people think that you don't take into account, and you're the finance guy. You think taxes. I don't know what the hell taxes are on $1 million.
It's a lot. It's a lot. That's a 50% tax bracket.
Then you have your agent. Then you have your lawyer. And then you have, because me, Silent J football player, backup punter on a CFL team, possibly. But I know what I would do. Being a 21-year-old Silent J, being drafted, the draft was Thursday. I would be dead right now. I would be dead. I would be a statistic, a very small statistic. But I know what I would do. I would you know what? I want to spend money. I like cars, and me personally, I really love cars. I'm gonna go get myself a couple fast cars because that's what I want to do. I'm getting a contract, guaranteed minimum $450,000. If I sign a 3-year contract, that's almost $1.5 million. Maybe an endorsement, $50,000 here, $100,000 there. I could make almost $2 million in a couple years. So for now, I'm gonna go get $100,000 cars. That's what I want. I'm not gonna go high end, so I'll just go $100,000 cars. Oh, my buddy down the street. He did this favor for me when we were 12. I broke a window, and I would have got kicked off the football team, and he covered for me. So I owe that dude. I got to give him like $100,000. And fuck it, I'll give him a car too. I like jewelry. I'm going to get jewelry. I don't like alligator shoes, but you know what? I'm going to get myself an ostrich suit. So I'm going to buy an ostrich suit. Yeah, and then guess what? My mom was a single mom. She did a lot for me. This is just pretend right now. Let's not go over.
You can't be held accountable. Your mom's gonna come out.
Yeah. My mom wished me a happy birthday on my sister's birthday. That's why I didn't call you today.
Hey, at least you remembered one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. This time. So I'm gonna go buy her a house, and guess what? I don't like rubbers. So I got this girl over here with a kid. I only have one child, and I did it after matrimony. But, the average college football player now, I'd say might have a kid. Good chances are there is a kid involved. If you're Travis Henry, former Buffalo Bill and Denver Bronco, he had like 14 kids with 12 different women. So you're telling me that guy didn't, have to dish some money out. So now, what do I have left over? I am new draftee Silent J. I just bought 4 cars. I hooked up my buddy. I hooked up my mom. I got this girl that's off my back now. I got some jewelry, some suits. Oh, the Xbox One and the PS4 for no other reason than I couldn't decide. So I got them both. What do I have left over after my first year with $450,000?
Well, and that's really the unfortunate thing. So here in America, do you know how many states are required to teach sex education?
No.
37, right? So 37 states in the United States teach sex education. You know how many teach financial education?
I maybe a few.
4 of them. There's 4 of them, and they're all weird states like Kentucky, and they're just like places you would never imagine. They're obviously not using the information, but that's a big thing that really gets to it because people just don't know, right? So you have all this stuff like sex.
There's still having whether finance in Kentucky was created or
evolved. Well, that's a big thing, though. Sex is the most natural thing, right? Sex is the most natural thing, and that shouldn't be something from the state. That should be something that your parents teach you about the birds and the bees. Mm-hmm. We're white. My parents and I, we're wasps. We don't communicate that effectively. So my parents bought me a book and read me the book, right? Where do babies come from? But that's where it's supposed to come, from your parents not your football coach, who I got it from in high school or in middle school, right? Like, yeah, that was a real effective demonstration, right? That was just, yeah, whatever. But that's the thing. You get out of school, and we know calculus.
Jerry Sandusky camp.
Yeah, I had a thank God. Oh, God, imagine. I bet he did. Maybe that's where it all started.
Oh, I don't want to be a tight end.
Oh, my God. I just had a really bad image in my head. But maybe that's where it all started. But then again, like, we don't come out with anything. We don't come out of school with anything that's very, like, usable. You know, like, we know, like, geometry. I think geometry, as a Mason, like, geometry is probably the most important thing we can have. Mm-hmm. But calculus, like, I've never used calculus outside of pre-med, and that was only to do chemistry, right? And that's understandable. If you're not a chemist, that has nothing to do with your life. Everybody will be in some way involved in finance. If you get a car loan, buy a house, have credit cards, have a cell phone bill, have any kind of bill that could possibly have late charges, you start to understand what it means to accrue interest and what that interest means. And of course, when you get a promotion, you have a little bit of extra money. And that's the big thing with me is, like, if I could get clients, and I have a lot of clients now that thankfully, like, they have kids, and I'm able to get them to start plans for their kids, because a very large part about finance and truly saving and setting up your own retirement is about your time horizon. Because if I have, like, my kids have, I set my kids up in these plans where they'll be able to retire in their 30s or 40s. Because it doesn't take very much. Because I started when they're 1.5 and almost 4 years old, so they have over 30 or 40 years to plan, right? So if you're using this idea of compound interest, mm-hmm. It really doesn't need. They don't need a whole lot. You're putting a little bit of money every month into these plans. They have a very long time to accumulate this money, and with the way compounded interest works, when it gets to a certain critical mass, every time that's compounding, it's getting larger and larger and larger and larger. Versus, like, I read an article the other day about a lot of people that are retiring now or hitting retirement age are kind of getting screwed because people that were very conservative typically kept their money in the bank, right? The bank used to give about 4% interest, right? So then you could do that.
A savings account and silver bars isn't gonna cut the mustard anymore.
Not so much, no, because that's
IRA.
and see, that's another thing. I have people that I have friends of mine that only they collect gold and silver, and they consider that their investment, right? And they say it's because they don't trust the stock market, so they only go with gold and silver because they say the stock market's not going to screw me. I know it's going to crash, and it won't affect me because I've got gold and silver. They couldn't be more wrong, right? Because gold and silver prices are a direct reflection of the stock market. When the stock market goes up, gold and silver prices go down. When the stock market goes down, gold and silver prices go up. They're still in they're in a negative correlation, right? When one goes up, the other goes down. And so that's a very bad idea. But these older people that are retiring now, savings accounts used to give about 4%. Inflation is between 3 and 3.5%. So that means if whatever my investment is not making more than 3 to 3.5% interest, I am theoretically losing money. Because as that inflation goes up, if it's 3.5% inflation, that means if I have $100 today, it's going to be worth $3.50 less next year because of my loss of purchasing power, right? And so savings accounts used to be about 4%. You could get a CD that gave about 6%, right? So those aren't too bad. Savings account, I could go withdraw my money if I need it. CD, my money is locked in, so I can't touch it until that CD matures. However, after 2007, 2008, all of those bank accounts, now your average bank account, if you get any interest, is maybe 0.25%. A good CD, the best CDs I've seen are about 4%. But then with a CD, you can't touch that money until it matures. Mm-hmm. If your bank account, if you're a person nearing retirement, and your money is in your bank account making 0.25% interest, that means you're losing 2.75%, right? Because of inflation, you're theoretically losing money by having it in a bank. And that's the big issue, is that a lot of these people, if they knew, if I could just sit down with those guys the day before the draft and go, here you go, Finance 101, here's just some basic ideas. Because that's the thing, like, the younger that you can get to your kids, and that's a great, like, parents, educate your kids now, so they'll understand as they start getting older. Like, I could buy a $50,000 car, or I could buy a $20,000 car that's just as good, that'll give you the same place, probably has better gas mileage, and I can take that $30,000 extra and put it into an interest-bearing account or an investment or something else like that and actually make some money with my money. And that's a big issue. Like, I came into some money after when my grandparents passed away, and I remember being 18. My parents had never really taught me about money. They just didn't do a whole lot to teach me about the way that it works. And I remember sitting down and looking at it and going, what do I do with this money? I looked at bank accounts and I went, 4% interest, that's not really anything. I'm not going to do that. I didn't want to put my money in the stock market because it was all over the place. And so I just spent it, right? I opened a business and I spent it on stuff in the business, but I just didn't start investing because I didn't trust anybody. I didn't really know what it was. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Like, if you could just, there are 77.3 million baby boomers that started hitting retirement age 2 years ago. There's supposed to be one retiring every 10 seconds for the next 15 years. There's only 40,000 financial professionals in the country, right? So that means there's just not enough of us to go around and sit down and actually talk with people and tell them what's available. And that's a big thing. People just do not even know what's out there. Most people think an IRA or a 401k, like, that's it. People think that's a tax-free retirement. No, sir. That is not a tax-free retirement. You're not paying taxes on it at the beginning, but you're going to pay taxes on it at the end. When you're retired and you start taking money out of that thing at 59 and a half years old, you're going to be paying income tax. You're going to be paying, that's your income. So if you're taking out $100,000 a year, you're paying 30% taxes. You're actually paying $30,000 in taxes, right? So there's a lot of things that people just truly don't understand. And that's the thing with those guys. Like, if you could just sit down with them and explain, like, hey, you're going to get a big grip of money. Like, I don't know how their contracts work.
It's like a bi-weekly thing. They actually get paychecks during the season. It's like every game or every couple games. So they actually get paychecks. And the article I read, it says, like, injury or being cut, plays a role. So if you committed, say you get $450,000 for the year, say after taxes and everything like that, you had $1 million, now you have $500,000, and you spend that $500,000 already, and you get cut after the third week, you're not going to get the rest of that unless it's guaranteed money. They said the average player ain't going to get that big guaranteed. Like, the first pick overall this year, he's a $22 million contract.
Oh, Jesus, really?
22, and there's a cap on it. There's a guy, Sam Bradford for the Rams. He's a quarterback for the Rams. He was, like, I think the last #1 pick before there was a rookie salary cap. I think his rookie contract, never played it down in the NFL. It was like $65 million and $30 million guaranteed. He never did anything, and it shows he sucks. The following year, so this is like 2 or 3 years ago, I believe, there's a cap. The #1 pick overall gets this. The 30th pick of the first round gets this. There's no more rookies holding out for bigger contracts. It's like, no, this is it. Here's your ladder. This is what you get. So still, the first pick overall, $22 million. Mid first rounders, $15 million, $12 million. That guy, Mr. Irrelevant, the 214th pick of the draft, he might be lucky to make the team, but his contract's going to be $450,000 before taxes, before agent fees, legal fees, And I think if you go on the practice squad, I think it's
$250, right?
Might be like $13,000 a month or $30,000 a month, or something like that. It ends up being like under $250,000 just to be a practice squad player. But I just couldn't imagine having that instant riches. I mean, so a lot of these guys, think about it. They're poor college students, poor kids growing up, because I tell you what, if I was smart and if I came from a money of family, I'd be playing lacrosse or tennis or golf, I mean, smart, and I'm not saying football players are dumb, but smart, well-off people don't play gladiator sports, for the hell of it.
Doing my MBA, I had an HR class, and one other thing was talking about workplace compensation or suing your employer or something. I can't remember what it was. But we had this case study about this kid that had graduated from Harvard, very, very, brilliant guy that had played hockey, and he went and he played for Toronto, or he played for some Canadian hockey team. That played in the NHL. I can't remember which team it is, or maybe it was NHL. Whatever, he played for a hockey team. No, it's in Canada. He played for a team in Canada. Mm-hmm. He had something happen where he like accidentally did something to another guy. It pissed off their entire team, and like all the team sent all their goons after him. Nobody could get him. Like he would not get into a fight, right? He would not like take off his gloves and fight because he was actually a good player. He didn't want to get any penalty time. So 3, 4, like 5 different goons from this opposing team go and they try to like get him into a fight. He won't do it. Finally, one of their goons just basically skates up behind him and like just cold cocks him. I can't remember if it was with his glove or with a stick or something, but you could see on the film the guy was out before he hit the ice, and so he full face on the ice and like complete brain damage. He was in a coma for like 6 months. All this crazy stuff happened, and that was the big part of this case study. You know, they were going through and they actually had to do a lot of these tests on like how smart was he before and now after. Like he has no. They did like a specific study to find out how much they could sue this team for. This guy, you know, they did like a work study, like what could he have done before this injury because of his, you know, just how mentally capable he was. And it was like rocket scientist, brain surgeon, you know, anything. Afterwards, this guy could not, his thing was he was still smart, but he could not delegate tasks, period. So he completely lost the ability to go, I have 5 things I have to do. Which one is important? Which one should I do first? And he had his short-term memory was all scrambled. So this guy went from, you know, he like you were talking about earlier, a guy who had chosen to go to the NFL for a couple of years and got out. This guy had gone to the NHL, had gone in very, very intelligent, brilliant, and once he got out, the guy couldn't even have a job as a pizza delivery guy. Could not, because he lost one of the greatest skills of being an employee.
I couldn't do that. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do that. But I look at some of the people that are in positions. Let's face it. Let's not be stupid. 90% of the players that I saw drafted were young black men. You know, probably from very shitty areas. You know, they were talking about like areas of Florida that's draft heavy. I'm like, I know that area. That's not a good area. That's a very poor area.
Yeah.
Parts of Texas, that's a very poor area. You know, parts of California, like these are very poor areas. These are people like their only way out. You know.
Yeah.
To use a physical ability, which I applaud. That. Hey, listen, if you could run fast enough to get $22 million and you hit somebody hard enough to get go for it. I can't. You know, I can't even hit a tennis ball hard enough. You know, to get $5. But it's like I completely understand. And you looked at the. You know, some of these people, like the cameras would be at their house when they were drafted. Like these people were just crying, but there was a whole house full of people. It's like they're all crying. You know, like this is the rock of not just the family, but the whole community. You know, and like I just look, I couldn't help but like maybe I'm a selfish person because I know what I would do if I won the lotto. There's a couple of very close people I would take care of. I'm out. You know, no one's ever gonna see me again. These kids, and they're kids. They're 20, 21 years old, 22 years old. These are kids that now they have a whole responsibility for a lot of people, you know. Yeah. And it's just like, how many of these kids are gonna get ripped off? Who's gonna have a great idea? Like, hey, I got this really great idea. What do you need? I just need $20,000. I'm gonna start this veteran internet radio thing. Okay, sounds. You
know, Adam. I used to listen to Adam Carolla's show quite a bit, and he has a lot of stories about that because he came from a very poor upbringing, and when he started striking it big, you know, a lot of people think, you know, oh, he came from nothing and he was able to do it with no work, but like Jeff Whippy, he went through the groundlings, like he did a lot, he paid a lot of dues before he actually got in and started getting big, but still now he makes gobs of money. And a lot of his family, same thing. Like came out of the woodwork. Oh, hey, can I borrow this? Can I borrow this? Can you give me money to put down, down payment on a house or whatever? And then they'll just like completely write him off about paying him back. Like he said, every single time. Like he just gets sick of it because a lot of his family they all kind of act like his success is pure luck, even though he had to work his ass for it all. He had to work his ass off for it. But they act like it's just pure luck, so they don't care about paying him back.
Yeah.
You know,
and those are people that don't understand the value of a dollar. Like I'm not great with money. I understand. I have responsibilities. I pay my responsibilities. You know, I pay off what I have to pay off, and then after that, you know, I'm living luxurious for an E6. Yeah, you know how much I make, so it's like, okay, I pay my.
And so does every stripper in town around a military base.
Oh, yeah.
They know exactly what your BAH is.
Legend in Wisconsin. But you know, I don't have this thing in my head that says, you know, let's take this whole paycheck and just blow it. You know, let's let this person borrow money. I have something that tells me I have responsibilities. You know, I worked hard for this money. I have to pay my bills, or this consequence is going to happen. There's other people. I have family, just like you said with Jeff. I have family. Oh, can you help me out with this? Can you do this? No, I can't. I don't know. People think like, you know, people go into the NFL and become rich. If it's for a small period of time, they become rich. People think when you join the military, all of a sudden you're rich. Like, I'd never understood that fabrication. I wish I had my LES for my first paycheck. It was like under $300, I think. It was a couple $100s, and it was like, what the hell am I going to do with this? I can't do anything with this. What am I? You know, I'll go get drunk and I'll go get laid. That's what I'm going to do with this. Now it's like, well, you've been in the Army for 14 years. You must have got a lot of money. No, I just have a lot of, you know, I don't know. I have a lot of stupidity. That's why I'm still here. That's why.
Well, there's so many issues with, you know, when you're talking about football players specifically. I went to UT when Ricky Williams was there. You remember Ricky Williams?
Yep.
Most people don't, right? He was a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, he was an amazing football player. And then, like, the second that I saw him pick Master P as his sports agent, I was like, Jesus, come on, dude. Like, you're a college-educated man. Come on. But sure enough, like...
Educated? And that's the other thing. It's like, I know people that went to school with athletes, and it's like, that's a joke.
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, he actually was. Like, UT, they kind of mess around sometimes. But I knew somebody that was his, I can't remember what, but something. They were his tutor. They were something. He was actually a reasonably smart guy.
Smart kid. Didn't he go to India or Nepal or something like that and study to be a yogi or something like that? Like, he's deep. Yeah, Ricky Williams.
I don't know about that. I know he's a pretty deep guy. He's from California.
Yeah, that says a lot.
There you go. Well, and that's, you know, Texas, California, Florida. Like, that's where you come from to play football. But he, so Master P was his, you know, the first sports agent that Master P ever had was Ricky Williams. And so his whole contract was options, right? So essentially, the football team had lawyers who had been doing this for a very long time. They saw Master P's ass walk in, and they went, we're going to take this motherfucker to the cleaners. So his entire contract were options, right? So it was like, yeah, we're going to give you a $12 million contract, but you have to hit all these certain things. You got to get X amount of yards per game. You got to play X amount of games per year. Like, every single thing in his contract were options. And he hurt his, like, he broke his ankle in college or his knee or something like that, and as soon as he got into the NFL, those injuries started coming back up, so he started missing games. And I remember he had bought, like, a house here, and then he got traded to, I can't remember the first team he played for, but then he went to the Dolphins, like, very soon after. And then he quit. Then he just went, you know what, I'm out. Like, he just left the NFL.
Yeah, he came back and was like, and he was, being a Bills fan, when he was with the Dolphins, he was the league's top rusher, like, 2 years in a row. And it was like, when he left, everybody was upset. I'm like, oh, God, I'm so glad the Bills don't have to play this guy. And then he came back a few years later. He ended up playing, maybe he was gone for a year or two. I know he went and smoked a lot of pot.
Yeah.
And then he came back and he played for a couple more years. But, yeah, it seems like he got used. You know, he's been abused pretty.
Well, that's the thing. Like, your average life expectancy in the NFL is like 2 to 3 years. I think most people do not play in the NFL very long. So, yeah, you might make like $450,000. Let's say you make the $450,000 for 3 years. Now take out the 10% for the manager or the agent, then take out another 10%, then take out tax and all that. So let's say you walk away with $200,000 a year. So you walk away with $600,000. That's not bad, but what if you really didn't get much out of education in college? What if you took underwater basket weaving and that was it, right? So now you walk away, you got $600,000, probably not in the bank, because like if you're showing up to practice every day with other guys that are driving like Floyd Mayweather has 2 Bugattis, $1.3 million a car. He bought one for him and one for his buddy to drive around whenever they go out, right? So he's got 2 of them. So he's got $2.6 million wrapped up in cars. If you're playing with homeboy that got a $22 million contract, you're not driving a used Datsun to the stadium for practice every day, right? You're not going to drive to practice in an old piece of shit. And so that's a big problem I've heard from a lot of these guys, is that a lot of their stuff is keeping up with the Joneses. You know, there's a lot of pride. Like, you get to that level where, like, you're playing on an NFL team. There's a lot of pride that goes into that. But I remember watching what was it, Yo MTV Cribs or MTV Cribs or whatever the hell it was. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they would go around all these houses. They had this one chick that I had never heard of her, whatever. She was one of Little John's projects, but she lived in an apartment. You know, there was nothing in the apartment. She drove like a used, I can't remember what it was. It was like a 4 or 5 year old car. Mm-hmm. And her one like thing that she was proud of in the apartment was Little John gave her her own like Crunk Juice refrigerator and had Crunk Juice in it. But that was it. Like nothing else. And I remember watching that and going like, smart. Like smart. Because when she runs out of music, or like she's done, she's not going to be living on the street. And that's a problem with a lot of these guys, is they go and they just like, they spend money like they've got these paychecks coming in forever. Yeah. And that's not the reality. If they got sat down with a good financial advisor who knew the reality that whatever they're getting, take as much money as you can, put it in the right kind of long-term investment so that whatever they get now, they'll have, whenever they need it in the future. Mike Tyson, that's the way Mike Tyson survived, actually. When Mike Tyson kind of went bankrupt and he fell out, he had nothing left, it turns out one of his trainers, and he writes about this in his book and he talks about in his documentary, one of his trainers had started an investment for him when he was a kid. And that was what kept him alive. Like after he basically got done with boxing, they found this, and that kept him going. And there's a lot of stuff out there. If you're just a little bit smart, or you sit down with the right person, there's a lot of ways to do that. If you have a large lump sum, there are a lot of things you can put that into and basically have money for the rest of your life. There are a lot of really good investments out there that aren't the stock market. There aren't complete gambles. There's a lot of really good things that you can do, and it doesn't take that much money. Now, that being said, if you do have a huge sum of money you can put in at once, opens a lot more doors.
Well, they also said that this article that I read, that it goes by position. Offensive linemen and defensive linemen tend to hold on to their money and more conservative with their money, whereas like defensive backs and wide receivers tend to spend a little more recklessly than the linemen. So I don't know, maybe skinny, flashy guy, compared to a big fat dude. Who's going to be cooler behind a sports car, a right guard or a free safety?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, those guys are so big. What's the average on a lineman? Like 6'5", 350 pounds.
300 plus 300. They're saying that guy, the gay dude, Sam. Whatever Sam. They said the reason why he fell so late, possibly because he's gay, but it also is because his size. He's 6'1", like 280 pounds. He's not big enough to play defensive tackle in the NFL, where they're 6'3", 340, 350. He's not fast enough to play linebacker. He's not strong enough to play defensive end. They might find a position for him. But you got a guy he's what, like 6'1", 270, I think? And he's not big enough. Like 6'1", is a huge dude, and especially he's running the 40 in fours. It's not like he's running the 40-yard dash. He's like 6'1", 6'2", like I think most 270-pounders would do. I mean, this guy's still an athletic freak, and it's like that's insane. You know, that 270 pounds is small or 280 pounds is small. It's like
he's going up against guys that are wearing size 14 alligator shoes.
that would be me. I would be the wide receiver. It's like, okay, I'm not that good at catching a ball, but guess what? My car's better than yours. Haha.
It's probably a personality thing. But I'll tell you what, like one big thing that they that does happen, there was a 30 for 30 that ESPN did on a lot of these, like the same thing, athletes that make a ton of money and then they're bankrupt very quickly. Most of them, a lot of them, it's from medical bills. There are a lot of people that get, they get medical bills and they just completely, like, I remember hearing from one guy that he was on this 30 for 30 that went over this, and the guy, they added up, he made over $20 million in his career, but he was bankrupt within a couple of years of being out, and it was all medical bills because he was considered uninsurable, so he had no health insurance, and he had to have, like, back surgery, knee surgery, neck surgery, and he was paying for it all out of pocket. And that's like coming from a guy that used to work in a hospital. That's a lot of money to add up.
It's got to be at least $2,000.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. But that's something that I want to bring up. Obamacare. It's been a big thing for the last 2 years, man. It's been all over the place, and it seems to. I'm not hearing as much about it in the news anymore. But I had a personal situation that just came up this last week. And it was something that I haven't heard about, but I thought was a little insane. So I have a client that he just doesn't have health insurance. He hasn't had it for a long time. It's one of the things that we do out of our office. We do a lot of different things, but we have health insurance, property and casualty insurance, life insurance, investments, retirement, small business planning, college planning. We do a lot of different things. So I figured I'd go to our health insurance broker and just find out. Because this guy, he's a smoker. He's a little bit older. He's got some things that have gone on. But he had like a health thing come up 2 years ago. We had to pay $30,000 out of pocket for some hospital bills, and I was like, all right, well, let's see if we can get you insured. Like, I knew Obamacare was supposed to basically make everybody insurable. That they couldn't not insure you for pre-existing conditions or whatever. So I was like, well, I'll just go talk to my guy. Let's see. Let me get some numbers. Like, that's a good thing about being a financial advisor. Like, that's if this guy has to pay $30,000 out of pocket again, like that's a big financial event. So let's try to prevent that. So I went and I tried to get, okay, what information do I need? What do you need to know? See if we can get this guy insured. And they went, well, you can't, we can't even look. And I went, well, what do you mean you can't even look? And they went, well, he missed open enrollment. And I went, so, okay, so what? So he can't get on the healthcare exchange. Let's just go to one of the private companies directly and see if we can get them, Kaiser Insurance or Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they went, no, you don't understand. Open enrollment is over, so you can't even get health insurance until open enrollment comes up again next year or at the end of the year. And I went, wait a minute, how much sense does this make? So Obamacare made it illegal to not have health insurance. But I'm telling you right now, this guy doesn't have health insurance, and he wants to buy health insurance, and he cannot buy it. So there's no way for him to change from illegal to legal status. There's no way for this guy to go and get health insurance now to become in line with the law. They went, no, sorry, that's it.
I'm going to be going through that process at the end of the year when I get off and I get rid of my TRICARE Prime remote. And then I'm going to have to – I used to work for an insurance company before the Army. Yeah, I used to wear shirt and tie every day. Gave up that shit with the but this would be the first time in basically my adult life that I have to go and shop for insurance. And now I got the man, I don't want to say the monkey in the room because I'll be called a racist, but we have this pink elephant in the room. Let's make fun of Whitey. We got this big pink elephant in the room. The Affordable Care Act, it's like, okay, that's an option. I could keep TRICARE like in the reserve side, or I could do this. I'm like, then I got the VA.
You want to die in the waiting room?
No, I don't. No, I'm not going to Phoenix either. So it's like, I think I might just film my experience of trying to get insurance because I have a funny feeling that doing all my paperwork to go to college is going to be a whole hell of a lot easier than getting a simple insurance plan,
Yeah, and that it seemed to be the strangest, because there are so many situations like that, right? And so their thing that they were saying, I got into a big argument, and this lady even works in my office, but it pissed me off so much that I had to argue with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, it's been all over the news, they've been saying open enrollment was ending, and blah, 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 and I went, well, yeah, but you know what else has been all over the news? The fact that there's a source code in Obamacare that basically allows any hacker to steal your information if you go onto the website. Like, I've been seeing nothing but Senate hearings and House panels going into investigation about why Obamacare is so screwed up, why the website doesn't work. I've been hearing more of that than I've been hearing of open enrollment ending. So I thought, honestly, they were going to allow people more time to wait until they fix their shit. But if at the end of the, I never heard of this idea that after open enrollment you just could not buy health insurance anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of outraged. I was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There are private companies out there whose job it is to take money, and I cannot take my money to these private companies and buy their services for money, right? So capitalism. We live in a capitalist society. They're not allowed to sell me insurance, right? They're a business. They're in the business of insuring people, and I am not allowed to get insurance from them because I missed your stupid arbitrary deadline.
I wouldn't have known. I don't watch it. When I see something like that come up on the news, switch. I'm sorry. I don't have. I don't have the patience to deal with it. I would have been in that same guy's. I would have been in that gentleman's position you're trying to take care of. I wouldn't have known. I would have walked there. Okay, hey, I need insurance. Oh, you can't do it. But that would have been me. So.
Well, that's the thing. Have you heard? I mean, have you ever heard that? I never heard that. I heard open enrollment was ending.
I heard open enrollment. I just thought it was like, now it's open. Now
yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't realize it's like, okay, and stop.
Yeah, well, and stop forever. Like, stop until open enrollment again. Like, there's no way. Because that's, what if there's a lot of things? So when I was contracting, right, when I got back, when I left Raytheon, like, that's all of a sudden you lose your insurance. Does that mean if you lose it outside of open enrollment, you're just fucked? Or what about, like, you when you leave the Army? Or, like, all these other situations that come up.
No, I got to look into that. I know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow on lunch. I'm going to see when the next when the next enrollment period is, because I'll be pissed after having insurance for 14 years. I'm going to be like, no insurance land for 6 months. That's when I get a damn air conditioner fall on my head. So.
Yeah, don't piss off any chicks around you anytime soon.
But I know you got something to do. We're gonna wrap things up. We got some cool stuff we're gonna talk about next week. We're gonna talk about a really good conspiracy. I'm gonna add on to that. I wish we could have got to it, but that's gonna be fun. And I wanted to share the best worst tweet. Came from myself, and I had a lot of them. And I had some direct messages, and I had some phone calls. One of my friends was mad because I said Johnny Manziel looks like a Pajeri kid, and he's got a relative that has the Benjamin Button thing going on. So he got mad. He was talking to me. He's like, hey, blah blah blah. I saw what you did. So instead of just saying, hey man, it was a joke, I started talking. I'm like, hey, there's really nothing wrong with being a Pajeri kid, and he got mad at me because that's usually the voice that they have. So I think a friendship is over. But another one I had was a man named Haha is now a millionaire. There's a guy named Haha Dix, was drafted by the Green Bay Packers. Haha Dix. I'm
guessing he's not a Caucasian fellow.
No. It's a hyphenated. Actually, Haha. I think it's Haha Clinton Dix, which is even funnier.
You got it. Like, I'm sorry. Like,
and that's a name that Koreans have heard forever in the showers. Haha Dix.
I'm sorry, man. Like that. So I grew up in Texas. Like, I had a good friend of mine that I grew up with. That was like, she was a heavy set black female, right? So like, she was probably the most comfortable person I have ever met in her own skin. Like, she would put on high heels and a tight miniskirt to go out clubbing on the weekend. She was like, I don't give a shit. I'm hot. I don't care what you think. Like, she used to always make fun of, like, she'd always go, oh, Shaniqua Shanae Jones come with us? Because she couldn't stand this, right? And I've always thought it's so weird. Like, you get to the point where they completely forget what the name, like, it just seems like some people are trying to get outrageous with the names. Like, there's no other point than, like, I want this kid to get his ass kicked in school every day, and I'm just gonna name the dumbest thing that I possibly can.
Yeah, so my tweet was, a man named Haha is now a millionaire. Good news, Mississippi natives. This proves shitty parents can catch a break. And then the only other one I'll tell right now, because I like this. I'm like, NFL GMs would rather take a Penn State shower before #Johnny Manziel, because Johnny Manziel fell in the first round of the 22nd pick. So that got a couple boos, but that also got a couple ha-has. So
what was the deal with that? Why did he? I saw that. I didn't watch the draft again, but I saw these updates saying like nobody could believe that it took him so long. Like, why did?
Oh, he's an ass. That's what it comes down to. He's cocky. His thing is this, like, money. It's like, shut up, dude. You went to Texas A&M. You know, you're not Texas. It's A&M. All right, agriculture and mechanics, is it? Oh,
yep.
Yeah, I learned.
Be careful, man. Aggies are a little nuts. Just don't drive around College Station anytime for the next couple of years, because they'll kill you for that.
I'd hate to knock over their green bean plants that they so took care of. Dumb cadets. You know, this Texas guy. Yeah, this first year since 1937, somebody from the University of Texas was not drafted.
Nobody from the University of Texas was drafted at all?
Buddy, they were naming off schools like Sycamore International State of the suburb of Gary, Indiana, had somebody drafted. Nobody from Texas, like these tiny little D3, you know, flea on a dog's ass schools were drafted, but nobody from Texas. There's a conspiracy for you.
I bet Mac Brown's having a heart attack. That's a little nuts, man. I'm gonna have to go figure out what's on.
That guy's gone. They got a new coach.
Oh, I thought he was leaving. I thought he was there this year, and this is last year.
No, I think they got a black dude now. That old dude's gone.
If Mac Brown's gone, man, that's probably it. But he's probably still having a heart attack. That's a shame.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Oh well, that's why I don't watch football anymore.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so. I want to remind everyone again, so that Captain David Lyon Memorial Run. If you're going to be in Colorado Springs, Friday, June 27th, from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, be really cool. Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. I mean, he's a great guy. You know, I'm going to be in Vegas for a convention that weekend, but that would be it's a pretty cool way to honor a great guy. Again, you can go check out eventbrite.com. And I also shared it on all of my Facebook pages, so it's on Lummy When I'm Gone, Center Mass, Facebook, my own personal page, and I'm not going to tell anybody how to get to my personal page. But if you have a chance, go check it out, man. He was an awesome dude. I talked about him on this show before. I've talked to him about it on Far From Center, and I wrote a couple articles about him on all the different blogs and stuff. So pretty cool guy, man. Be a good excuse to go to Colorado and go run. And hey, it's Colorado, so that means you can smoke a bowl afterwards. And hey, more power to you. It's legal, so they can't harass you.
Get a good craft beer.
Yeah, I tell you what. Yeah, Colorado and Germany, best beer in the world. I love those damn places for beer, especially. Joe, you got anything to add before we sign off here?
No. Check out all the show listings on betsonmedia.com. Our Radio Daddy Adam just said good show, so I'm putting a gluttonous plug out there. Check out his show on Wednesday mornings. And then go to tactical16.com, and even though he's drunk and fell asleep and think he broke his computer, check out ironmikemag.com for all your Manly Men magazine internet reading material. So check out those three sites, ironmikemag.com, betsonmedia.com, and tactical16.com.
Yeah, how does our producer can build his own online magazine, can do all this other stuff, but he can't figure out how to get his computer working.
Yeah, idiot.
Well,
and he's never going to do that because he doesn't know what the rewind button is on the show.
He was taking shots of whiskey the entire time, so I think that might slow down his technical skills just a little bit.
Yes, and I think I'm working. Oh, one quick thing. I know you got to go, and I'm tired. Working on a interesting guest for next week. A private investigator guy, so I should have some information on that by Wednesday. So check out my show, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Tactical 16 Radio, and I'll let you know who the guest is going to be for next Sunday's show. So, see, you kind of roping you in.
And when is the homeboy? When's Food Inc. guy going to be on your show?
It looks like at the end of this month or early next month. He's in Australia right now.
That'll be that'll be a big one. We won't say it yet until we have a firm date and everything, but that'll be I'm looking forward to that one.
Hells yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right, everybody. So thanks for tuning in. Whether you were here with us on Google Plus, remember every Sunday evening from 7 to 9 Pacific Standard Time, 10 to 12 Eastern Standard Time, you can follow us on Google Hangouts and actually watch live and interact with us. You can submit questions, comments, bitches, gripes, concerns. While we're doing the show, you should actually interact. If you're a YouTube person, I just saw a thing today. YouTube is now the number 2 search engine in the world. So if you're a YouTube person, you like watching on YouTube, you can check out the Center Mass with Rob and Silent J video channel and see our ugly mugs live while we're doing this. See producer Brian taking shots of whiskey while we yap.
Listen to us on vetsonmedia.com, and you get the Listen Now button on the Center Mass homepage at vetsonmedia.com. So if you choose to just listen to us and not be repulsed by our physical phenomenons.
Yeah, I'm going on a crazy. I think I'm going to go on a crazy diet now that I passed my Series 6 and 63. That means I can. Well, I got to finish my book. I got to finish the Pact. I've got to get my Series 65, and then I want to lose probably another 30 pounds before this year is out. I want to get back to my fighting shape by my birthday. So hopefully this turkey neck will start going the other direction. But you don't know that if you're listening to us on Vets on Media. So yeah, tune into Vets on Media, vetsonmedia.com for the rest of the year. I'll let you guys know when to come for the Google Hangouts after I've lost about at least 10 or 20 pounds, and we're getting back into it. All right, so for all of us here, this has been Center Mass with Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I'm Silent J.
And remember, stand your ground. Don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have a war, then let it begin